am Jenna, 23 years old, born into wealth and glamour. My home was not only filled with luxuries, but also overflowing with dreams and expectations. My mother, a famous television actress, was the ideal woman I always admired. Her roles often portrayed strong, determined women on a journey to find true love amidst challenges. She instilled in me the belief that love was a fairy tale where the prince and princess would live happily ever after. But as I grew older, I realized that life was not a stage, and love was not as simple as a happy ending. During my first year of college, I met John. He was like someone straight out of my dreams, tall, handsome, with a smile that made my heart race. I still remember the first time he invited me to dinner. The way he looked at me made me feel like I was the only girl in the world. But reality has its way of waking you up from dreams. One day, John disappeared without a word. I waited for him in the rain for 3 hours, convincing myself that maybe something important had come up. But in the end, I had to face the truth I had been abandoned. Then came Jack. He made me feel like I was living in a romantic movie. He was gentle, considerate, and always made me laugh. I thought that this time, I had finally found the right person. But then, with a short text message, he shattered my world. He told me he was moving to California for work and didn't want to maintain a long-distance relationship. As I read his message, I felt my heart break into pieces. And then there was Mark. I thought he was my fresh start. He was deep, thoughtful, and always talked about the future and the values of life. But after 6 months together, Mark confessed that he wanted to become a priest.
I cannot love anyone but God.
He said, I didn't know whether to be sad or laugh. With every heartbreak, my heart grew more calloused. But what scared me even more was that I started to wonder, was the problem me? Had I placed too many expectations? Was I not good enough to keep someone by my side? The fairy tale dreams of love I once held so dear had now become nothing but vague memories. I kept questioning whether I would ever find true love, or if it was merely an illusion my mother and her movies had created. Bella,
Hey.
my best friend, had seen enough of me blaming myself. With a determined look in her eyes, she placed a thick stack of papers in front of me.
Jenna, you are not the problem,
Bella said, pushing the papers toward me.
but the way you choose your partners is. So this time, I'm going to do it for you.
I stared at the stack of papers with bold letters printed on the cover. Contract for finding Jenna a boyfriend. At first, I thought it was a joke. Are you serious?
Huh?
I raised an eyebrow, skeptical, completely serious. Bella replied, unwavering.
3 rules. First, you must date the person I choose. Second, you have to give them at least 3 chances. And finally, you absolutely cannot fall in love too quickly.
I laughed. The idea was ridiculous. But at the same time, I realized I was exhausted from making the wrong choices over and over again. All right, I sighed. You win! Bella immediately got to work. She pulled out a picture of Peter, a friend from high school. Peter was a kind guy.
Hey.
Someone who always made people feel comfortable around him. I agreed to give it a try, thinking that maybe this time, things would be different. But before I was even ready for my first date with Peter, Eric appeared. That day, I was watering the plants on my front porch when a moving truck stopped next door. A tall guy stepped out, wearing a tank top that revealed his toned arms, with sharp eyes and a confident smile. I froze for a moment, nearly dropping my watering can.
Sorry, am I bothering you?
He asked, his voice deep and warm. I awkwardly responded, trying to hide my flustered state. But deep down, I kept wondering, why had someone like Eric suddenly appeared here? Eric was the kind of guy who could instantly draw people in. He wasn't just attractive, he had a way of talking that made me forget all my past heartbreaks. We started chatting first about his new neighborhood, then about jokes that made us both laugh uncontrollably. With Eric, everything felt like a dream. Afternoons spent under golden sunsets, movie nights that led to deep conversations. Eric pulled me out of the darkness of my past and made me believe that maybe, just maybe, I had finally found true love. Peter gradually became a part of my life in ways I didn't notice at first. He didn't bring the excitement or heart-pounding thrills that Eric did, but every moment with him brought safety, trust, and, most importantly, sincerity. Sitting on my bed, hugging my pillow, I felt utterly confused. I was torn between two choices. On one hand, Eric made my heart race like a dream. On the other, Peter offered stability and the belief that love could be built on sincerity. In the end, I followed my heart and chose Eric. It all started with what seemed like a perfect evening. Eric invited me to an extravagant party, wanting to introduce me to his friends. I never liked fancy parties with dazzling dresses, and fake smiles always made me uncomfortable. But for Eric, I decided to step out of my comfort zone. At first, I tried to fit in, smiling and socializing the way Eric wanted me to. But amid the blinding lights and roaring laughter, I still felt lost. The moment that shattered everything was when I saw Eric talking to Rosa Gorgeous, confident girl. Their conversation was too intimate, her smile too natural, and Eric's gaze unwavering. I told myself I was overthinking. But when Rose suddenly wrapped her arms around Eric's neck and kissed him right in front of me, my entire world fell apart. I couldn't breathe. My heart clenched in pain. Without waiting another second, I turned and walked out of the party, leaving behind the glittering lights and deafening music. As I walked alone on the empty streets, the streetlights only amplified my loneliness. The cold night wind stung my face, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. How could I have been so naive? How could I have let myself trust and love Eric so deeply? And then, out of the darkness, Peter appeared.
Jenna, is that you?
He called, his voice filled with concern as he saw my tear-streaked face. I nodded in silence. Peter didn't ask questions. He didn't demand explanations. He simply walked me home. As we walked, I finally let everything out: the pain, the disappointment, the self-doubt. Peter listened, steady and patient. He didn't say cliches like, "It'll be okay." He just stayed beside me, a quiet, reassuring presence. That was the moment I realized Peter had always been there when I needed him most. When Eric rang my doorbell the next morning, my eyes were still swollen from crying. He tried to explain, saying the kiss with Rose meant nothing.
Jenna, I really care about you.
Eric pleaded. I looked at him, but the pain from last night had already settled. For the first time, I put my own feelings first. No, Eric, I said calmly but firmly. I'm tired of being hurt. I deserve someone who doesn't make me question or suffer. Without waiting for a response, I closed the door. After everything, I learned that love isn't about fleeting romantic moments, grand gestures under sunsets, or sweet promises. Love is about trust, about feeling safe, about knowing the other person will always be there just like Peter had always been.